Hola! I'm Gabriel Caldwell, and I'm on the beach in Tulum, Mexico to talk about motorcycle adventure tourism. Motorcycle adventure tourism is the fastest growing segment in the motorcycle market, with Hollywood stars like Ewan McGregor making documentaries on the subject. Getting to a beautiful place like this is not as easy as hopping on your bike and going for a ride. It takes preparation. Preparing for a successful motorcycle adventure tour not only involves preparing your bike, but also preparing your gear, and most importantly, preparing yourself. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the maintenance that should be done on your motorcycle before you leave on your tour. Second, I'll talk about selecting the proper gear to ensure that you're safe and comfortable along the way. Lastly, I'll talk about preparing yourself for your motorcycle adventure tour. Having a properly maintained motorcycle is vital for having a good motorcycle adventure tour. There are several bits of basic maintenance that should be done on your motorcycle before you leave on your trip. First of all, the chain should be properly lubed with a good motorcycle chain lube and properly adjusted. Mileage varies, but generally, motorcycle chains only last 15,000 to 20,000 kilometers. So if you have a higher mileage chain, it might be a good idea to replace that chain before you leave on your tour. Spark plugs, like chains, also have a limited lifespan. So if you have higher mileage spark plugs, I would recommend that you have those plugs replaced before you leave on your tour. Fresh oil and an oil filter is also necessary before you leave on your tour. As well, you should have a new air filter installed. Obviously, there's more to a motorcycle than a chain, spark plugs, oil filter, and air filter. If you have an older motorcycle or a higher mileage motorcycle, it's a good idea to take your motorcycle to a certified mechanic and have your motorcycle inspected for any problems. If you find any problems, have those problems addressed before you leave on your tour. If you follow these basic maintenance steps, you'll be able to have a successful motorcycle tour and minimize the chances of a breakdown on your tour. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about selecting the proper gear for your trip. Selecting the proper gear for your trip will ensure that you're comfortable and safe on your trip. The most important thing is having a helmet that meets the latest safety standards like DOT and SNELL. You'll also want to make sure that your visor is properly adjusted and in good working order. Like spark plugs and chains, helmets also have a limited lifespan. So if your helmet's older, your trip might be a good excuse to replace your helmet. Newer flip-up style full-face helmets are very convenient, but if you plan on doing a lot of off-roading on your tour, you may opt for a dirt bike style helmet with goggles. A jacket is also very important. A proper protective jacket is vital. Your jacket should have armor, and motorcycle adventure specific jackets also have removable insulation and removable rain liners to account for changing climates in the countries that you may be visiting. Also, you should have proper motorcycle pants with armor, and ensure that those pants are very comfortable to walk in or easy to remove, because you'll often be getting on and off your bike during your tour. Since you'll be walking around, selecting the proper set of boots is the difference between having a very comfortable trip and having a very uncomfortable trip. Normal motorcycle boots have a lot of metal armor that makes them very hard to walk in. Boots of this style don't have that metal armor, and they're decently comfortable to walk in. If you're going to be doing a lot of hiking or a lot of walking during your motorcycle adventure tour, you may want to opt for an ankle height leather hiking boot. Although it's not as protective, it is more convenient. You'll also want proper motorcycle gloves, and again select gloves that are appropriate for the climates that you'll be visiting. Your motorcycle should have come with a factory toolkit, so you want to make sure that that factory toolkit is still complete, intact, and on the bike. There are also certain things that you should add to that toolkit. You should add duct tape, rope, and zip ties, also known as zap straps or cable ties. If your bike does break down, these items often help make a temporary fix until a permanent fix can be made. You'll also want to carry chain lube with you and lube your chain every 1,000 kilometers. If you forget chain lube, WD-40 is widely available and can be used as a replacement for chain lube temporarily. Just lube your chain more often if you are using WD-40. A first aid kit is also very important because you never know when an accident is going to happen and you want to be prepared for that accident. In terms of navigation, many of the newer GPS devices can give you turn-by-turn navigation in even the smallest of countries. But those devices can also fail, so it's important to bring proper paper maps with you in case your GPS fails. Communication is key, as we know, so you'll want to bring a communication device with you, whether it's a cell phone, a satellite phone, or one of the newer satellite GPS messengers. If you follow these steps and select the appropriate gear, you'll be comfortable and relaxed throughout your tour. As I said, preparing yourself is the most important part of your tour. You can have the best bike in the world, and you can have the best gear in the world, but if you're not comfortable and relaxed, you won't have a good tour. So you want to know your route. Ride your route mentally before you leave. And plan your days so that you can arrive at your destinations during daylight hours. Riding at night in foreign countries is dangerous and very stressful. If at all possible, bring a friend with you. A friend can be a great help along the way, and as well, it gets lonely when you're riding by yourself. You'll also want emergency numbers for the countries that you'll be visiting. Not every country uses 911 as an emergency number. A lot of countries have different numbers. So get a list of those numbers for the countries that you'll be visiting. If there is an emergency, you will be the first responder in an emergency. So someone in your group, either you or one of your friends, should have basic first aid training. I highly recommend getting a first aid course. You'll also want the names and addresses and phone numbers for your country's consulate in the countries that you'll be visiting. If your bike does break down, having service center addresses, telephone numbers, locations is very, very important. You'll also want the proper documents for your motorcycle, and you want the proper travel documents as well, such as visas. If your motorcycle is a rental motorcycle, it's important that you have the proper paperwork that proves that you're allowed to ride that motorcycle in other countries. So ask the rental agency for that paperwork. A travel guide will really help you along your tour. Travel guides give tips for sightseeing as well as accommodations and eating. If you prepare yourself for your motorcycle adventure tour, even though it is a lot of research, you'll be prepared for any situation, and this will help you be relaxed and comfortable along the way. And should you run into any problems, if you've done your research, you'll be able to handle those problems. So in conclusion, having a properly maintained motorcycle will mitigate the chances of any breakdowns happening on your trip. Selecting the proper gear will ensure that you're safe and comfortable, and preparing yourself will ensure that you're relaxed the entire time and you can have a lot of fun. If you have any questions, please email me at gabriel_caldwell@hotmail.com. Thanks, and have a great trip.